I mean, it's early there, but I think it had three important pieces in the announcement that were really, something that's going to resonate. That I mentioned multi-agent orchestration earlier, and that's a very important piece as you start to move this into the enterprise with multiple agents to manage. They have some pre-built integrations already. I think they said 100, but obviously data is a big piece of that. So being able to get the data and get it in where you want it.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello and welcome to Analysts Gone Wild. We're on episode 14, I believe, and it's April 24th, 2025. We actually have a great crew today. I'm Robert Kramer with more insights and strategy. But, this is a unique crew today. It's a very talkative one, so I'm expecting a lot of great insights today and some pretty cool stories. So with that, why don't we kind of go around the horn with John first, introduce yourself, then we'll go to Thomas, and go from there.
Hey, John Santaferraro here, the CEO of Ferraro Consulting. Been in the data analytics and AI industry for 30 years. Glad to be here with you guys from my farm in Tuscany.
I love when you say that. When you introduce yourself as from Tuscany and the farm, you have to tell us what you're having there for dinner tonight, because we're just having frozen pizza here.
Tonight is osso buco. And now that you mention it, osso buco. One of my favorite, actually Milanese dishes. So yeah, that's what's happening here. We got 400 olive trees here, so there will be some good olive oil drizzled over the top.
Who's doing the cooking? Yourself, your wife, friends, you? Okay, I'm in. So Sam, can you put together a field trip for this so we can, do a couple episodes? I'd say 2 weeks so we can do two. Maybe a week before to get grounded, get this.
I need to do that. And it seems like John can cover a lot of grounds here.
Yep. Thomas, how are we doing today?
I'm doing fine. Still sitting here near Seattle and looking at what enterprises are doing, funny, not so funny, good and interesting things.
Okay,
and commenting about it, of course.
We'll hear some more about that today. So, Michael, what about yourself?
Sure. Michael Fawcett, I'm the founder, CEO of Area Research. Cover all across the enterprise apps world. I've been involved in this for about 35 years, but lately focusing a lot on the intersection of AI and CX.
Great. And Sam, please.
Hey guys, Sam Gupta, Elevate IQ, sitting here in Toronto looking at my frozen pizza as well. We don't have farm here. We have been in this space for what I personally have been 20 years covering enterprise software. Robert, over to you.
Great. And from my space, I cover ERP, SCM, data protection, and enterprise data. So I've been in that space probably about 25 years. And so between all five of us, hopefully we can come up with some good information for everybody based upon our knowledge. But why don't we go into the first one here, Sam? And this one deals with a company called Beroe, and they acquired nnamu. Did I say it right? nnamu. But they're gaining some strategic advantage here with this. And what's interesting is they're getting the autonomous procurement tools that from the nnamu's AI agent. So it should help the customers. I want to talk about that a little bit, what it does for them for the procurement cycles, and then what market position does this give them across based upon this autonomous sourcing that they're able to get these capabilities. So why don't we kind of go around first? Thoughts?
So I can pick on it, and I really wish John were here, John Hansen. He does procurement, and he's obviously really passionate about this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm slightly close to the procurement community, I guess. And I have been hearing a lot about autonomous negotiation agents and game theory and I don't know what all. So sounds like this acquisition is about that as well. When I look at 2,000 negotiations, I mean, that's low. 2,000 deals. Come on. I don't know how much AI is going to be there. Maybe these are enterprise deals, but I don't know. I mean, how much I really buy the game theory idea on procurement. I know that there are like 1 million startups that are working on similar things, but I honestly don't know how much value they are adding. Yes, they claim that the procurement teams are kind of busier and they need a lot of automation, but I personally don't see the same busyness in procurement as I would see in recruiting. That's the labor of love in general from the HR perspective. So I'm not too sure about this one. I mean, there are too many startups and they are working on a lot of different procurement, ventures. So I don't know how much this is going to add, but there's some value to the technology, I guess.
I'm going to disagree just a little bit because I think that the combination of data, game theory, and AI capabilities, whether it's agentic or autonomous, we don't really know at this point. But that combination is a good combination. And so I'm assuming that NnaMu has data. Beroe would have a lot more data. So to be able to access that historical data, and they talk about 20 years of data. So if they actually have that, negotiations are not just trained and impacted by the negotiation. It's the outcome. It's the longevity of the customer relationship. It's the nature of the negotiation in the first place. It's comparison with deals that were closed without negotiation. So having a 20-year set of data to be able to plug into game theory will give it some capabilities that I think can be a really powerful combination. My question is, what do they mean by agentic and what do they mean by autonomous? Because those terms are being thrown around a lot, and a lot of application vendors seems like they're automating business processes and calling it an AI agent, but it is really deterministic. It's not probabilistic and it's not agentic. And so I think that on this one, and I know I say this often, but we got to dig deeper to find out what's under the covers, because those buzzwords don't mean anything these days until you actually see what's behind them.
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time covering procurement, but I did take a look at NnaMu, and there, I would say, John, from what I could tell, I would call it autonomous, not agentic. But it seems like they're trying to move in that direction, to have agents handle negotiation based on intelligence that they're pulling from Beroe's infrastructure already. So it's kind of interesting now where, as it evolves and does become, actually agentic, that could be really useful from a negotiation perspective.
Sam, how is this being used though? I mean, is this an API from ERP, or how's the flow of this data?
Yeah, so honestly speaking, I don't think this would overlap with ERP as much. In general, the way the procurement teams work is they require a lot of data for their decision making, for decision intelligence to be able to negotiate.
Sure, understand.
Yeah, so I mean, the procurement, they do live inside the ERP, but for the most part, they are going to have their own siloed systems. They are going to have P2P, which is sort of the ERP for procurement. Some people might argue that, but it's not necessarily ERP. So they might have integration in that, but for the most part, this is going to be a data platform that these companies are going to be using, and they are going to have many different platforms for each of the category, for the product category that they are sourcing. In this case, I don't know if they have highlighted the category type here. They are saying procurement, but there are like million categories, and I don't think anybody can cover million categories in 2,000 negotiations.
Right. Understood. Okay.
The other thing I'd say that, I mean, for Beroe customers, this seems like a big positive. Game theory has many more capabilities, I think, in it than just negotiation. So if you're looking, if you just think of all of the different aspects of procurement, from the internal financial decisions that are being made to the selection of products and services and vendors to the actual negotiation, the beauty of game theory is that it takes very complex systems and it actually understands the dynamics behind the complex system. So I think it's a good thing for the Beroe customers, because this is a shift. This isn't just a new feature, it's a shift in the way that they're going to deliver their procurement platform. And I think it will, I don't know how quickly it'll happen, but it will impact all of procurement, not just negotiations.
Okay.
The game behind it.
Anything else on this one? Now we'll move on to our next.
Okay.
Capgemini. So Capgemini, which is interesting, they're a huge, I guess you would call them more of like a transformational company. I guess Sam, or their hands are in a lot of different things, but they're partnering with NVIDIA to produce more AI-driven agents. And what's interesting about this, and we've always seen this, it's nothing necessarily new, but specifically for different industries. And this is going to help the clients have faster time to market, simplified deployment. It's going to be significant because these agents are going to be ready to go. So it's an advantage in these key sectors. Is this anything new or unexpected, guys? Because it seems like everything that we're talking about is about agents, and you have to be doing these things in order to stay at the level everybody's expecting.
I think if you look at this and honestly pull the Deloitte announcement that we're going to talk about next into it too, because they're basically show you the same strategy, right? That NVIDIA is working with the GSIs to try to build out practices around creating agents and making agents available into their customer base using NVIDIA's technology. So partner strategy makes a lot of sense. I think the one thing that I liked about both of these that jumps out is the idea of pre-configured agents that are,
Sure,
maybe they're 80% there. And so it's almost like you come up with a job spec and you go try to hire somebody. Well, this case, it's speccing out an agent and going to look for an agent. So you're getting something off the shelf versus having to do custom. So I think it's interesting. I also think if you think back to their business model, this is a great opportunity for them to add revenue by being riding this wave, I guess we'll say.
Let me ask a question. I mean, everybody's talking about industry specific. I've been in the ERP business a long time. It's always been there. So I'm not understanding there is no hype of it because it's always been there. They're just talking about it now a little bit more. But Sam, what do you think about that? Because I'm not seeing it anything new. They've always had it, but they're making it sound like it's like the newest thing.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to have to agree with Michael. I think his observation is spot on. So this overall trend is more of the consulting companies developing their IP. And I think we discussed this last time as well. I don't know how many people were there. In the last show, there was one company that was providing platform, and all of the Indian sort of consulting companies were utilizing that platform to build. But these guys are developing this from scratch. So I think we are going to find out later on which strategy is going to be more successful, whether the partner strategy or developing from scratch. But I will be very consistent with my previous, commentary that, it's going to be interesting to find whether the whole allocation piece, I guess, right? Who is going to hold the piece of the pie in the long term, whether these are going to be consulting companies who will own the industrial IP, or whether partners are going to be more successful. So overall, to your question, Robert, I mean, this is ERP, but it's not ERP. AI agents, in my mind, sit on top of ERP.
Of course, it's not.
Yeah. So this is
and CRM and any other enterprise system, right? I mean,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying in general, industry specific isn't new.
No.
It's just being touted as it's new, whether it's ERP or what we're talking about here.
It's as new as AI, so it's coming and going in waves.
exactly.
And the point here is that their customers more and more want fast return on investment or fast time to value, actually.
Of course.
And that you can't get with a staggering number of consulting hours that get built, that you can get as a consulting company or offer as a consulting company only if you build IP. This is what this is about. And as they are all looking into the same playbook, the Capgeminis, the Deloittes, the Accentures, you name them, well, they're all doing the same.
Yeah.
I would, and smaller ones into there as well, by the way.
I think the answer to your
question,
you
talk about
Robert,
the industry.
Depends,
go ahead, John. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the answer to your question depends on the way that each consulting company is going to use their knowledge base, because what these companies do have is a really solid knowledge base of years of experience with industry specific solutions. And they've tracked those. And if they keep them in their knowledge-based system, there's an opportunity to actually open some of that up to be able to be used by their customers. That could be a really powerful solution. That's something that's not been formed. That historically lives in the mind of the consultant. And so you pay the consultant for what he knows, plus his access to the knowledge base. So if some of these agentic solutions now tap into that knowledge base, which it makes sense. It's a large language model now connected to the smaller group of knowledge and language. That's powerful. But I don't see these guys talking about that. And I've looked at E&Y is using NVIDIA, Accenture, Capgemini. All of them are using it. So it's not clear to me. They're not communicating how they're going to differentiate.
Yeah, I think you're at the early part of that announcement right now, saying, yes, look, we're on board. We have this. We're working in this direction. But there's a lot of detail underneath that. The one thing about the industry piece, though, I mean, you're correct. We've talked about industry-specific apps forever, of course, because that is a way to meet the needs of the customers. And it was either done horizontally and customized, or it was built somehow for that industry process. And that's all they're really talking about in this announcement is you're going to see agents that are industry specific because the use cases are industry specific, and that's actually going to be the way they meet those customers' needs.
Yeah, and you need a way of experimenting, doing your own proof of concept to build your own business model. And to add on what John just said, I think they do not yet have their knowledge base in order. This is scattered knowledge, I'd say, and I'm back to business models there. So what I compare this to the transition from on-premise to cloud, which was big investment up front to annuities. And with this building their IP and productizing their IP, they avoid having the big investment that they force upon their clients while retaining their revenue streams. It's pretty much the same thing.
If you look at some of the other announcements in competition lately, I mean, Salesforce and Agent Exchange, you got Tableau with Marketplace, you've got, ServiceNow with pre-built agents. The pre-built agents are going to be a big part of helping companies as they try to go into this, and they'll get better and more specific over time. And I think, later, I think we talk about about multi-agent orchestration. That's actually where I think this is going to go, right? You've got multi-agents, you need to orchestrate them across all this process, break the process down into small pieces, and you have agents that interact at certain points.
Yeah, so I'll make just one comment on John's comment related to differentiation, I guess. In my mind, I guess when I look at these things, John, industry trends, okay? So I like to see this as more of the copy the competitor strategy. And that's very effective in general. And you don't need to differentiate, to be completely honest. And the reason why that works is because, let's say right now, you look at all big four consulting companies that are developing literally the same strategy. And the reason why they are doing that is if they don't have that, then they are definitely going to be out of the deal. Okay. So when you are going to have a deal, if somebody's calling Accenture or Deloitte, they are probably going to call all other four, and they are going to look at what everybody else has. And they are going to say, hey, I've got this. Now everybody's going to say, I've got this. So at least you are, you are creating a level, playing field. I don't know whether that is good or bad, but from the deal flow perspective, deal strategy perspective, that's probably a very smart strategy.
Well, it's just mandatory.
Yeah. So
yeah,
all
I
of them
think
might
it's,
win
it's
or
called
fail.
survival at this point. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so if we don't have any other comments, we have one comment in the audience, and Michael is saying, agree that industry vertical specific is a time-tested enterprise product strategy. So my take on this is going to be that when you look at vertical specific, I don't know if I would call this as more of the product strategy. It could be more of the IP strategy. When you go very vertical specific, you sort of narrow down your market, and that's the challenge that a lot of companies have. It's very hard to go enterprise when you do that. So this would be a great IP strategy to be able to win deals. From the consulting perspective, some product companies have done this as well, but I don't know if this is really a product strategy in my mind. If you look at the power of the product, that comes from slightly more generalized platform strategy.
Do we think this is worth a press release, this what we're talking about here, or is it more the partnership with NVIDIA? Because everything else seems like it's just status quo where it should be expected. The customer
should be expected, but I think I think you're right though. The partnership is the point of the announcement, I think, and obviously you want to signal that you're in this and you're trying to tell, particularly the GSIs who build most of their business back into their own customer base, that we have this capability going forward. But it seems to me like it's more about the partnership.
But how much of the customers' bandwidth can they accept hearing, and what's more important than others? Meaning, like if I was Capgemini and I'm just constantly giving information to my customers, how much can you give them where it just doesn't matter anymore? Like how much of this is really apropos for them, or do I just need to do something once every 3 months, or is it like every other week? The customers are inundated with this information, and how do they digest it?
It's not about the customers; it's about the prospects. So,
exactly.
And it's a me too. Hey, don't forget about us. We are in the same game.
Yeah.
That's why the next one, Deloitte does it. EY. We had last week. We talked about EY, right? They did the same. That they focused a bit more on the development environment, so productized development environment to build those productized agents and specialized agents. So this was partnering with NVIDIA too. So this is just
your point on PR on press releases, I think is spot on though. And you think about it, we follow them because we need to follow them. But do you think the normal business person really gives any sort of notice to press releases? I doubt it very seriously, or at least not most of them, unless they're looking for something really specific, like I need this thing, and then I'll do a search and maybe I'll find a press release. But
Yep. Well, let's talk about
the analysts, maybe.
Well, let's see if there's a difference between what Deloitte has to say versus Capgemini. Let's talk about something next one here.
Can we just say ditto?
Deloitte slipped that platform word in there. I thought that was good.
There you go. So
they
developed. So Deloitte developed Zora AI with a collaboration with NVIDIA. So similar words, and there's obviously a business significance for this, that for, I guess, the customer and for Deloitte and for differentiating their AI. But the significance is the customer gets the operational AI enabled. I guess it's into the platform, the scalable platform. The clients are able to deploy, and that's, I guess, the goal here is to be able to deploy AI agents quickly. But the question is, how quick can you do it? I mean, does someone have something to show us that this is a manufacturing facility? Here's an AI agent. It's going to work exactly how that manufacturing customer is expecting it to, or do we have to make some changes?
The platforms that are coming out, and I've spent more time with Agentforce than and Lindy and a couple others, but they all have a test feature that you build the agent or you deploy an agent that's pre-built. You have to customize some of the actions, but you're going to test it. I mean, it's just like deploying anything else, although it can be done pretty quickly if the agents are pre-built mostly, so you're really just customizing that last mile or something.
I will say that
probably the learning part of the agents. But Robert started. Sorry, John. Robert started with what's the difference. So the difference to what Cap said is they are not industry; they are business function. And guess what? Deloitte is an accounting firm from its roots. They are doing finance. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, well, the one thing Capgemini announced that I thought was important was the integration piece, because if you think about this, you've got to be able to integrate into the enterprise applications that are already there. Deloitte didn't really talk about that as much, but I mean, I would assume that that's a part of their platform as well, because that's going to be really important for those offerings going forward.
John,
I think that's the the difference that I see here is that Deloitte seems to be actually productizing something. And selling it. And they even talk about, because I checked out their website in depth, and I checked out the others too, but this is the one that's productized. And they even answer the question, I thought Deloitte was a consulting company. Why are you now offering products? And they describe why they're doing it. So they see this not just as an accelerator, but as a product. And they have a set of agents that do all of the sourcing of data, extracting data, getting it into a format where it could be used. They run the analytical models, and they build all of that into the agent. So if they really do all of this, and you've got a platform that lets you start with sourcing and extracting and preparing data, all the way to the automation of some tasks or the autonomous capabilities of agents, that's pretty powerful. So I say kudos to them for just coming out and saying, yeah, we are a consulting company. This is a product. We realize it. It's different, but this is an opportunity to do that. I know of one of the other big firms that is developing a product right now. I don't think they've released it yet, but I know that they're doing the same. They're developing a product, not just an accelerator for their consulting business.
Yes, overall, I guess from the industry perspective, this is going to be interesting because for the most part, the consulting companies got deals because of their partnership with software companies. Now they are competing with them. So it'll be interesting overall.
The other one is, if we are looking back at Michael's comment, here we are seeing the other time test strategy, focusing on business functions, on horizontals. Works too.
Yeah.
Which do you think is more successful, or do you need both?
I think you have to have both.
Yeah, I do too. And which one is the hierarchy?
There is no hierarchy.
I don't think there is, right? Because it's a matrix. You got to cover both, right? I need to do marketing in, manufacturing or whatever, right? Because every function is also vertical.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking, getting some feedback. I think it's a good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think some companies let go of industry specific. I think it's a mistake, but you have to have the products differentiated as well horizontally. So it's a combination, like you all say, it's the matrix, and to have AI, handling some of that within those areas is a big deal. So.
Yeah. Well, in the data automation, I mean, John, you're right. That's a big piece of this too. The help up front to get the data clean in the right places, identified, all those things. That's the hardest part of getting started anyway.
Yeah, it's a must. Yeah. Well, that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. If it's not done well, you'll see it ripple down to where you're won't even look at the system anymore if it's not done right. So, okay. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess you guys are spot on. So I don't know if we should move to the next story.
Yep. So we got Rob Kalustian, the chief customer officer at Hyland, was recently announced. And so his new appointment to Hyland as a CCO, I think is a positive one. Obviously, his experience aligns with what their goals for customer support. I think renewals are a big deal, and ensuring customer value. Always, that's the fruit of what a vendor needs to have. But what's the business implications of this? I guess I would ask all you guys. What does this do to help modernize the customer operations? We always never want to lose a customer. So how does this help with what does he bring to the table so customers don't leave retention?
I think it's actually a more strategic play, because I go back and I look at the fact that Hyland just previously hired Jitesh Ghai from Informatica, and Informatica is one of the few companies that has actually completely done a digital transformation. They moved from a on-premise company to a company that bought a bunch of products that were disconnected. They built metadata to unify it all. And then they launched a single modern platform in the cloud to be able to do what not many companies have done. They actually digitally transformed themselves. Yeah. So I think that, Hyland has been around for a long time, and they're in the same position. They have to digitally transform themselves and become 100% cloud, 100% digital, similar to what Informatica did. And I think you combine Jitesh Ghai from Informatica and his understanding of how to do it there with Rob and his experience at Cloudera, and the ability to bring pieces of a platform together into a single solution. I think what's happening here is at a much higher strategic level than just customer.
So, John, I don't know if you're going to have more background on them, Hyland specifically. I don't know. I mean, I know that they are in the content business, but content business could mean a lot of different things. So do you know their competitors? Who do they compete with? Are they competing with likes of OpenText, or where do they fit, I guess, in the architecture?
Basically document management, content management, right? So anybody that's doing that, it's not an area that I follow. I know of them because of Jitesh, and he's reached out to me. So I know the company because of him.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the content platform, and I don't, not an area that I spend a lot of time on either, but they are trying to make a big transformation. Nobody that's looking at a content platform right now is looking at one that doesn't have embedded AI all across it. So that's clearly a big part of what they're trying to do in the transformation.
Yeah, so
those systems become more and more important.
Yeah,
as a foundation for utilization of unstructured data, especially for automation. Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah, Robert, I don't know if you are going to have anything else on this.
No, I'm good with this. I mean, it's a hire. I think it's a positive one, and we'll just see what happens. We'll keep an eye on it. I think we got some other stories to get to. Any questions? Any more from the audience? If not, we can kind of jump over to the next one.
Yeah, let's go to the next one.
So this deals with Kore.ai announces a new agent platform for building, deploying, and orchestrating agentic applications. Sounds positive, and it's a unified platform, no code, tools, SDKs. What's interesting is we've been talking about industry-specific and horizontal AI applications. This kind of hits both vertical and horizontal, and it matters because it provides a blueprint for scaling AI effectively across the enterprises. What do you guys think? Is this something that helps platforms? Does it help with AI execution? Does it give the governance people need? Is the platform robust enough that it's going to make a difference?
I mean, it's early there, but I think it had three important pieces in the announcement that were do something that's going to resonate. That I mentioned multi-agent orchestration earlier, and that's a very important piece as you start to move this into the enterprise with multiple agents to manage. they have some pre-built integrations already. I think they said 100, but obviously data is a big piece of that. So being able to get the data and get it in where you want it, that's important. And then they're using graph RAG instead of regular RAG search. So they do this, use this tool that lets them show the network connectivity of the data as it's used. So it's pretty, from a context perspective, pretty useful.
It's pretty useful, but it's also quite buzzword laden.
Yeah.
That puts
But
me
I
a
mean,
bit
would
off.
you expect them to announce something that's not buzzword laden? Come on.
Well, we had the yawn-inducing announcement of some consultancies earlier. Don't want to name them.
Again, refer back to my press release comment, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are.
I will say that this is one of only a few companies that are really focused on AI agent orchestration for multi-agent platforms. And what I did like about this announcement is that they're doing more than just integrating at the LLM level. And a lot of the multi-agent capabilities that we're seeing now are nothing more than stringing together large language models or small language models and putting them together, or even sectioning out portions of the model to be able to integrate with other models doing specific tasks and actions. But I really like the fact that they're doing the graph RAG, and they really are looking at multi-vector kinds of search so that they can possibly give agents the ability to communicate with each other autonomously, not just based on LLMs, that they can possibly orchestrate them, they can govern them. There's a number of these companies that are springing up right now. I expect that by the end of the year, one or two of these will pop to the top as true multi-agent architectures.
Yeah. Would disagree to the early beginning statement that you made that there are only a few who are doing that. Basically, the whole raft of conversational AI companies is doing this. The graph RAG probably gives them an edge, or maybe not, because I mean, looking at other small or well-known companies like Cognigy, for example, they're doing pretty much the same. Yeah. And what's interesting is here about Kore.ai, if I remember correctly, back in 14, 15 or so, they started out as support business, basically, empowering support, autonomous self-service support via, similar to customer, I think, via a flock of agents, let's put it like that. So specialized agents,
like a chatbot,
the chatbot that somehow delegated tasks between each other and concentrated on it. So this, to me, is kind of a back to the roots, but on steroids, which is pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, so my question is going to be about different companies that are going to be in this space. So John, I guess you touched on this, that there are going to be some companies. I don't know if you guys track how many different companies are there that are doing this. And Thomas, I think you said Cognigy. Is that Cognizant? Okay, Cognigy is a different company.
Cognigy was deliberately incorrect.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a bunch of them. You'd almost have to track the development of new startups in this space in real time, because we probably had 3 more founded since we started.
And they're not in India. They're actually one of the few good ones that are coming out of Germany.
Interesting. Yeah. So I guess, in my mind, when I look at this, the natural home for this would be something like ServiceNow. That's how I see it. So I don't know if you guys see this being acquired by ServiceNow, or ServiceNow is going to develop these capabilities, or they are going to be competitors, or are we going to see some new ServiceNow in the market?
ServiceNow already bought MoveWorks, so they're not going to buy Kore to do the same thing, right? So somebody else maybe, or maybe they'll be successful and have the one startup platform that makes it. Who knows? But
Michael,
my announcement a while ago.
My understanding of MoveWorks was that they were more of the enterprise search, not the orchestration and infrastructure play. And this one, I'm reading it as more of the infrastructure play. So did they do multi-agent orchestration as well, in your mind?
Yeah, they do. It's a bit more rudimentary than what Kore does, but they are very similar. And Lindy and Super AGI, there's like a handful of agentic platform startups that are pretty similar. The GraphRag piece here is unique. I don't know of any other startup that I've looked at so far that's doing that in the platform. Maybe John, you've seen somebody who is, but other than that, I mean, I don't see it as significantly different than MoveWorks. Now, maybe they'll acquire them too. Who knows? But
well, I mean, I think you have, so yes, you have the big companies that all have agent frameworks and are talking about agent orchestration, whether it's Amazon, OpenAI, IBM, Microsoft, Salesforce, whoever, right? Everybody that Google has one, NVIDIA has their Omniverse, right? So all of these, all of the big guys are saying that they're doing this. And then you have smaller startups that are beginning to implement in ways that I think are, again, diverse from and disconnected to ChatGPT and generative AI and LLMs to actually create agent orchestration platforms. So you have companies like Agent OS, DeepMind, Rasa, Magnetic One, B Agents. You have these different companies that are trying to do this at a different level. And I think that is what is needed. I don't think it's just going to grow out of the generative AI movement and become an orchestration platform. You also have the Boomies of the world, right? Boomi and Informatica both are now touting themselves as agent orchestration platforms because, Boomi integrated applications and data. Informatica integrated data and has recently got into the application game as well. So they have the possibilities. I'm not sure I have no idea. It's happening, but I have no idea where the winner is going to come from.
Yeah, great points, guys. So Robert, I don't know. Robert, you're on mute if you're speaking.
No, I got these jets that fly over my head here. We're by one of the Air Force bases. So, when they start, gearing up to fly over to China, they're constant. So it's a joke, but who knows where they're going, but they circle and it gets loud around the house. Anyway, took it off mute. Here I am. Let's go to the next one, see where we're at. This next one deals with, I guess, AI again, but this is more, so
It's an unusual topic.
Yeah. So this one is interesting though, because, OneDigital, they developed their own AI platform to help with workforce. And, I think that's one of the strong things to do with they call it Impact Studio, to strengthen your workforce, to make them more, from a planning perspective, how AI can help, their ability to have more of an impact with being productive, cost control for the clients. Is it a competitive advantage? Who are their clients? Or who are their competitors? What are they doing? Does this help out at all? Is this anything new? I think they're also, what do they handle mostly? Are they in the insurance industry as well? So maybe we can all put some light on this.
I don't know. I just thought the one thing that jumped out to me was the fact that they're taking the IP that they've developed through their consulting business and packaging that up in a productized way. I don't know. Other than that, I don't really know them that well.
Is that a pro or a con or indifferent?
I mean, I think it's smart, right? If you have invested in developing IP, how do you monetize it? Well, one of the best ways is to productize it. So,
I agree. What do you think, John?
Because they're a smaller firm, it's hard to tell what they're actually doing, and I think it is smart that they're taking, again, it's the knowledge base, right? They have a knowledge base. They're exposing that to not just to their consultants now, but finding ways to expose that to their clients. It's one of those things too. If they don't do that, if they don't monetize that knowledge base, they won't exist 5 years from now. So I think every consulting company is being forced to do that and to productize and externalize the knowledge base that they have in some way. So to me, it's a must do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah. So this is a very interesting announcement, and I don't know how many. I don't think we have covered any companies that have done sort of the spend tracking from the HR perspective. So this is slightly newer, at least for this show. And I don't know how many companies are working on this. Pre-generative AI, I mean, this was very common, I guess. Most cost reduction companies, and I would put them in more of the cost reduction category. From the consulting perspective, they are going to have some sort of benchmarking data offering. That's how they were able to consult. I don't know how successful they were, to be completely honest. Yes, companies do need some sort of benchmarking data. They have a real need for this. And I don't know, how much AI is really going to help, at least when you talk about generative AI, is going to help. And I don't know if this is the press release because generative AI is hard and, we already had this. So now let's announce one more time.
The AI powered part is probably predictive analytics in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which is not a bad thing, because so far the returns for whatever's agentic, autonomous, and stuff still needs to be proven.
I mean, I will say they at least 6 months ago rolled out a beta version of this, and they were able to track the results. And the results are significant enough to demonstrate the validity of their product. Yeah. From that perspective, they could be ahead of the game. I don't follow consulting companies that are this specific, but it seems like they could be a little bit ahead of the game.
It's matches the pattern that we identified before. You need to, and you said it, John, you need to productize your IP, else you are out or on the way out, going the route of the dodos.
Don't you think they need to branch out a little bit more? It seems their focus is a little narrow.
I mean, there's an argument for both, right? Yeah. That I have this wedge in this business specific niche versus do I try to spread? And I mean, who knows? But most of the startup advisors would tell you that you need to focus on a segment, a specific with your product to start with, and then spread out over time.
Yeah. Nothing being wrong with the best one in your in your life.
Yeah, no, being the best in a small niche is still good thing.
It depends what your goals are and how you want to the return on investment. And I mean, who knows what that market caption is within their sector currently. I don't know. So just thinking out loud, is it too narrow, or is it sounds like it's not necessarily, but it could be at some point. So Sam, any closing thoughts on this one?
No, I think we are pretty good. I don't have anything else to add here. So let's go to the next
anything in the audience, or we got time for a couple more?
Yeah, let's go for one more.
Silent.
I know it has been a little quiet. Anybody want to talk about, Tuscany and, what the best food is? And do they use agents to make sure they know which pick the olives? And do they have robots out there that, that tell you that they have tasks to pick which rows to pick at certain, times of the month? And then do they actually, make the oil, or where do you come into play with this, John?
I just need to obviously productize my knowledge base.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that's automated with doing the olive oil?
Not much. It's a pretty. It's farming. I say I live on a farm. It's farming.
Are they using drones to do anything?
Not that I've seen. I'm not a big producer, right? I have 400 olive trees, so
that's more than I have.
Well, 400 more than I have.
400 more than I have to be.
Probably 400 more than we have combined.
Yeah, my wife just ordered some olive oil from Sam's in our delivery that's coming today. So we got $17 for a big gallon of it.
Send me your address, and I'll send you some olive oil. And it will be better than whatever your wife just ordered. I can almost guarantee it.
I'm sure it'll be amazing. So, Pipefy.
Is that an offer for all of us?
Absolutely.
So, So Pipefy, we all can kind of chime in on this last one, but they added AI agents. It's a shift
Surprise.
towards business-led AI adoption. It enables users, obviously not just in IT, but to configure and deploy agents. How does this help their processes? Does it give them? Does it help with a better ROI? Is this a good strategy? And what flexibility does it give everybody? What do y'all think?
It seems like it's an evolution of what they've been doing, right? They have process automation. Now they're talking about adding in, some amount of automation using, AI. I wouldn't say it's agentic, but it seems like they could be moving in that direction. And then the predefined process flows are probably where the real IP is in that.
Yeah. I think this is probably just a marketing ploy, because I mean, what are they doing? They are doing automating processes. Processes by their own definition, they in quote unquote take decisions, and they are autonomous in the sense that they are getting triggered by an event, and that there is an outcome. So I think that this is not knowing the details in there, but I think this is just a hey, we are there too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like what's happening with the RPA world too, right? The RPA vendors have all come out with adding AI.
They're all agentic now.
They have to do well, autonomous anyway, but they have to evolve, and I think that's a sign of what they're doing.
So
I always look for in an announcement like this, it's like if you're saying it's agentic and autonomous, show me something that is probabilistic and not deterministic. And most automation platforms operate on very deterministic models where they are using a very closed set of data and a set of past transactions around that business process and automating the business process. And I don't see anything in what they have written here, at least, that looks like it would be probabilistic. So it's like, show me the money. Show me the money, Pipefy.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I guess, does anybody know where? I mean, I've never come across these guys, Pipefy, before. I don't know if they are more of the RPA company. Who are they, and which ecosystem are they part of?
The process automation groups.
Yeah, they probably would have called them BPM years ago, but
yeah. Like Appian or RPA or companies like that. Automation Anywhere. So
yeah, I mean, in the RPA space, you have three, but as such, you won't hear Pipefy there. I don't know if they are newer RPA vendor. If you look at the RPA vendors, you have UiPath, Automation Anywhere. I think hopefully Blue Prism is also around, I guess. There are three leading vendors from the RPA perspective. This one, and these guys are not necessarily defining them as more of the RPA. They are defining it as process automation. So I don't know, is that Zapier?
Well, I think RPA is this term that's going out of fashion as in the enterprise, and so nobody wants to use that. They use in process automation at this point.
Yeah. UiPath, you got Pega.
Did they have changed? You mean, Michael, UiPath is using process automation now?
You're seeing that more and more, and they're talking about agentic. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it does what it does very well: simple manual tasks to automation. Sure, but so if you want to do anything more advanced than that, which all the agentic platforms are saying they want to do or can do, you're not going to be competitive if you're just doing those simple manual processes.
That abbreviation got stretched a lot anyway, so it's good that it's going out. But they can't make it API because that's already taken.
Nah, already taken.
So need to find something else.
Well, so Sam, I'd like to close on all of us, instead of talking about next week and the advice, maybe give an example of where you've seen, agentic AI work and why, and like the best situation that you've seen it perform versus it being more fluff from a marketing perspective. What do you guys all think about that?
Sure.
So,
So,
so when we start with Thomas,
of course.
is it CRM since you love it so much?
I'm actually doing some research for a white paper currently on the return of agentic, and it's amazing how little is there.
Is it like Star Wars? It sounds like, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, the return of the agents. Yeah,
I love that word.
The empires are striking back too.
It's the return of the Jedi AI.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's the one. So, and the ones that actually are talking about a return are service scenarios. So this seems to be the go-to right now. It's all about customer service or employee service, where agentic actually is employed at a scale, and where businesses talk about returns, not just fuzzy KPIs like, well, did that much more, or this little less, used less time, or whatever. So where they are actually talking about returns. It's all service scenarios so far.
And I'll jump to John in 1 second. But do you think it's more for agentic AI to handle tasks or to suggest predictions and forecasting? So just kind of something as we continue. Go to John, because I kind of have some feedback on that as well. It's all about the strategy of these companies. Like, what's their MO? Like, what do they really want with this? And is their data even set up for it? Because I think there's a lot to be gained, but I think it could blow up at the same time. John.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the task agents that we're seeing, to me, are not really agentic. They're automation. We are beginning to see some role-based agents that take the role that a human would play. Mm-hmm. And this is not probably where you were thinking I would go, but the best example is what we call self-driving cars. We call them self-driving, but the car doesn't drive itself. What self-driving car companies have done is they have created a role-based AI agent that plays the role that a driver would play in that car. And it's autonomous. You plug in a destination and it takes you to that destination, and you sit back and hope that it actually works, right? But that is a true agentic offering. Another place where I see it working well is in data areas, business intelligence, for example. There's a few companies that have developed basically agents that do the work of a data analyst or a business analyst. And again, it's autonomous. You don't have to ask it a question. It just goes and it does the work and it does the discovery, and it brings you new insights every day. Now, you can dialogue with it as well, because that's what you do with a business analyst or a data analyst. But those pieces, to me, are truly autonomous and truly agentic. But I don't see a lot of the task-based stuff is just automation.
Okay, Michael, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing you have to think about here is that it's not it's not binary. It's not a 1 or a 0, right? It's a continuum of activity. So you've got assistants, then you have some sort of an autonomous agent that does task-based things, and then eventually you get to this point where the agent has true agency, and it senses, plans, orchestrates some action, and takes that action, and then collaborates back, reports back, whatever you've programmed into it. I've been playing around with like a 5-level continuum model. I mean, it's not going to be as simple as a switch. It depends on what use case is and what you want to. But I've seen some pretty good ones, like Thomas mentioned, the customer service ones. You are starting to see some true agentic operations there with agent that interacts with a customer who has a problem, and they can, come up with ways to solve that problem and then actually solve the problem. Like, oh, I shipped you a new thing, or you could go pick it up downtown at this address or whatever, right? Yeah. I mean, it is definitely evolving, but it's a continuum, and it's going to be a continuum, I think, for a while.
Yeah, that's well said. I actually think there's a big gap to overcome, and it's doing it within supply chain and inventory control, where your inventory control, instead of it being based upon, John Smith doing it on a spreadsheet to then go to just in time, now it's based upon supply and demand based on AI telling you what your supply and demand based on orders are, also your cross-selling, and then your disruptions on actually the movement of those goods and services throughout, and handling that forecasting and prediction. So that's also predicated on your data, but I think it can make a significant difference, as your inventory control is really where you can win or lose if it's right. Because if it's low, then you can't fulfill the orders. If you have too much, you're giving it away. So if it's right, then you're in a great situation. The cross-selling is a major caveat to this whole thing, because if you have the right inventory and which customers are supposed to buy what based upon what they bought before, I think that's a big selling component, and have that inventory for them. Sure. So anyway, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, so I guess that's a very interesting point. And in my mind, when I look at the inventory problems, they are not necessarily technical problems. They are more people-related problems, the real world problems. And when we were talking about those olives, with John, and I don't think he has figured out, how to extract oil, olive oil using AI agents. We are not there yet. Maybe one of these days, robots are going to be there and they might be able to do that. And that is the same problem with the inventory as well, to be completely honest. Because you might put labels or whatever, but your physical and digital, they don't necessarily align. And that's why you have all of these problems. And I don't know if AI agents can really solve. The only thing AI agents can do is maybe they can make the interaction better. Maybe they can update faster. Maybe they can identify any sort of anomalies so that you can do cycle counting, as opposed to doing it on the spreadsheet or a piece of paper and then entering. So the whole interaction is going to change. I think that's where we are going to see a lot more benefits. So far, I see AI agents as more of the ingredients inside the application. I don't know how many companies are really investing in real AI. Some enterprises might do that. And that's why we are seeing consulting companies doing that, because they are going to productize, because obviously this is going to be very expensive.
Sounds great. Well, this was a fun episode. I think we're probably at time. Sam, should we wrap up?
Yeah. All right. So I think, maybe we will not do closing advice today, because we are.
Yeah, that was instead of that. Our AI was really kind of a change of pace at the end, and giving everybody some feedback based on that.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining once again. This was Analyst Gone Wild, and we meet every Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.